So if you've been watching any of the one-on-one basketball, if you guys have been watching TikTok, you guys all know who this is. This is GOY's the dribble spamming kid. What started off as someone believing someone was doing an impression of Julian Newman has become an entire thing. This guy was invited to the 1v1 House of Highlights Championship alongside some of the biggest creators in the world, and well, for lack of a better word, kind of embarrassed himself, a better way of describing it. But in this video, we are going to break down GOY's game. We are not just going to break down him losing in 1v1. We're not just going to break down his shooting percentages, because he shoots some of the most stupid shots you imaginable. But for me, a lot of that is just due to the fact that that's what people know him for. That is what he does. That is what the draw is. His draw are the lowlights. People don't want to watch GOY's cooking somebody. People want to watch GOY's get cooked. So, in this video, we're going to be breaking down just the little things. We're not going to be looking at the outcome. We're going to be looking at some things he does well on the floor, a lot of things he does badly on the floor, and whether or not this guy, if he actually put in any focus, could be a decent basketball player. And I'm not saying, oh, if he trained for a year. That's not the case. Most people can become decent basketball players if they train for a year. It's just right now, the way his game is, the way he moves, the way he plays defense, the way he shoots, whether or not he is actually a good basketball player who's kind of trolling, or he just sucks like people think. So the first question we've really got to ask is, does he troll when he plays games against other creators? And honestly, this one's tough to say, because again, from looking at the House of Highlights Creators League, and shout out to the guy who made the video saying that he shouldn't have been in the league. Honestly, I think the fact that some people are talking about him being in it is perfect reason why. But if we look at games that he's playing against the likes of Cash, it's hard to tell. It really is. Like, again, he's somewhat looks to be trying on defense. They're getting absolutely cooked right here, but he just can't guard anybody. Like, in that scenario, it does not look like that is intentional, but it is hard to tell. It is hard to tell on the defensive end whether he's trying or not, because he's just out here getting bullied by guys who are just bigger than him, stronger than him, and honestly better at the game of basketball than he is. But at the same time, when you're chucking consistently shots like this, which was the majority of the shots he took in the entire tournament, it's hard to say that somebody is taking the game seriously when they're shooting off-foot one-leg floaters from near the three-point line rather than trying to actually get by somebody. It is really, really tough to say that that's someone taking the game of basketball, or at least these games here, seriously. So I really, really don't know. So it's hard to tell. And a situation like that sums it up perfectly. So while this is a score and it doesn't even look like it's too bad, this sums up either him not taking seriously or a lack of ball IQ. So he's by Cash. In this scenario, most good players would take to the basket or try to cut him off at the hip. However, he does the next best thing. He goes and stops on a dime, pulls away, and gets a wide open jumper. But instead of just doing what a normal basketball player does, he shoots an off-footed floater and it somehow goes in. So that's going to lead us on perfectly to the actual strengths of GOY's. And I'm also going to talk about this in two different regards, because in my opinion, 1v1 basketball, which is kind of the wave on YouTube, and actual 5v5 basketball have two completely different skill sets. You need to do two completely different things. And I do think in terms of 1v1 basketball, he does some things well. I'm going to put this out there right now. In terms of 5v5 organized basketball, I do not think there is a single thing that GOY's does well, and I'll explain that in his weaknesses. I'll explain why even in his strengths, none of that will apply to 5v5 basketball. So if he's looking to make it big on content creating basketball, I think there's a way that he can actually become effective. However, in terms of like actual basketball, you can tell from some of his clips that he is a very kind of novice basketball player. He plays a lot in the streets, works on his handle, works on things to make him look good rather than be effective. So I honestly don't think there's any future for him, even at low level 5v5 basketball. So these were hard to find. Honestly, his body control is not bad. It's not. He's somewhat fast on his feet, I guess. Like, he doesn't have an explosive step, but he's coordinated in a way. Like, when he actually decides to go by someone to the basket, it's not like he's slow. Like we saw in the Cash clip previously, It's not like when he wants to go to the basket, if he wants to go by somebody, he's not slow, especially compared to the average player. If he's talking about playing a college or pro, God no. God no, he's too slow to play as a guard at any level other than 1v1 street ball on YouTube. But compared to guys that aren't playing the game for a living, yeah, he's still going to be one of the weaker players, but he's not that slow. And his hands are also kind of fast. Like the dribble spam thing, is it useful? No. Is it incredibly easy to dribble like this? Not really either. I know he's fumbling a little bit, but the dribble spam that he tends to do, it's not that easy. It is absolutely useless. It is absolutely useless, whether it be 1-on-1 or 5v5, but it's not easy. I mean, lads, I'm trying to find some strengths here. I really am trying to find some strengths. This is hard. And now we're going to talk about some of his weaknesses in a 1v1 setting, which is the only real time we have seen him in terms of a YouTuber basketball setting, as well as if he actually tried to play real basketball, which is something that nobody looks at in terms of this 1v1 YouTube culture. It's a completely different game, but if he did try to translate, why he would be even worse of a player, honestly. First of all, what we all know, he has the single worst shot selection I have ever seen. He will consistently chuck shots that would be bad shots for Steph Curry. There's not that many things that are bad shots for Steph Curry, but the shots that GeoWise puts up are legitimately the worst shots I've ever seen. They're so bad that I'm thinking maybe it's just a troll, but this is the way he actually thinks he can play basketball. Hell no. These are I've never seen someone shoot as bad as this guy. I've never seen someone shoot as dumb shots as him, which means it must be a troll. It must be a troll. So I'm not going to go too far on this. A lot of people are going to be talking about how bad his shots are, but surely they're intentional. He cannot be this bad he cannot be this much of a dumb basketball player. He just can't be. He cannot think this is going to win him games. He's straight up the worst defender I have ever seen in my life. Looking at this clip again, instead of actually trying to fight when he gets beat off the dribble, he puts his two hands out in front of him, makes contact with the offensive player, and because he's weaker, 90% of the time, he's getting moved backwards. He is getting moved backwards. Same thing here. Once he gets beat, he puts his two hands forward and he's either blown by or pushed back. So if you watch closely, he plays defense with his heels dug into the ground. He's going to get beat every single time. No matter what, in this stance, he will get beat. You can see here already, he's kind of beat, but he was on his toes or decided to take a step to the basket, he'd be fine, but he puts his two hands out in front of him, and rather than working on getting his body back between his man and the basket, he literally tries to use his non-existent strength to push an offensive player with his heel still dug into the ground, which, as you can see, gives a wide open lane. He's not even going towards the basket, not a chance he ever gets to stop playing that defense. Like you can see again here, on his heels, so much so that he's completely thrown off balance and nearly falls over himself on a jab step. It would be one thing if he was guarding someone super quick. This guy is obviously much better than him at basketball, but you can see here, he's just been beaten so badly that he has to now try to overcommit anytime he gets jab stepped that he tripped over himself. Even though GeoWise is somewhat quick, he can't use it because he's on his heels all the time. He cannot guard anyone. As you can see here, trips over himself again. He's on his heels, so he's so off balance on defense from the very start. He can't guard anyone, no matter what. He could be guarding a 500-pound guy. It would not matter. If you're on your heels like that, leaning backwards, no matter what, you will not stay in front of him. No matter how quick GeoWise is, he will not be able to stay in front of anyone at any level of basketball. He also straight up can't shoot. Like, first of all, it takes him the best part of a second to get into his jump shot. Like, no matter what level you're playing at, that is not a quick enough release. That is a release you would struggle to get off playing with 14, 15-year-olds. But he straight up cannot shoot. He's working on his follow through. He's a low release point. He brings the ball up from a weird position. He takes a second to fix the ball in his hands before he shoots. I don't even care if these shots are going in or not. Most of them are missing because, again, it's to be expected. He is shooting kind of deep, but at the same time, you can see he does not have the mechanics and he takes way too long to get into his jump shot, which means that he couldn't even play off the ball as a shooter, which, again, a lot of people kind of can do. Even the shots that are going in, shots that are missing, it does not matter. If you can see here, when he's ever getting a release off quick, anytime he gets a release off quick, he's throwing it short. Anytime he gets a release off way too slow, it's sometimes going in, but you can see it's just inconsistencies. He's missing left, he's missing right, he's missing short, he's missing long. There is no consistency to his shooting. It's too long. honestly, whether it be step backs or whether it be just catch and shoot, the guy straight up can't shoot. And you can tell he cannot do the basics of basketball. He's trying to take some off-footed layups here, and I know they're going in, but he's doing it at a walking pace, is struggling in terms of coordination with the ball in his hand. The way he had his ball in his left hand right there, he would never be able to get that shot. That would be taken off him by any competent player at any sort of level of basketball. He's going nowhere with these Euro steps. The way he's releasing the ball, you can tell that this is a guy who has never really played any sort of decent level of basketball. I would be shocked if this guy played even high school varsity basketball or could do that, because he just does not have any of the basics. He just does not know how to play the game of basketball. And again, that's perfectly fine. Like, the fact that a guy can make a career out of a sport that he legitimately does not know how to play is incredibly impressive. It is incredibly impressive. But you guys can see with his footwork, he just tried to take a 4-step Euro step. He had no idea what he was doing. And you can see here on every one of these moves, he's playing against a defender and he still probably isn't getting enough space to get an open shot on a defender. He's shooting off balance. I know the balls are sometimes going in, but you can just see from these clips here, he's actually being working on somewhat moves that might translate, I guess. But at the same time, he doesn't even know the basics of basketball. So I don't know what these weird off-footed fadeaway Euro steps are really going to help. I don't know what the dribble spams are going to help. But like, I think at the age he is, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough at any stage for him to make it at any level of basketball, including just 1v1 casual YouTuber basketball. Because again, you can see here, it's taking a second for him to get into his shots. He just doesn't have it. He's just not a good basketball player. He's not a good basketball player at all. And if you want to make the argument, okay, maybe he's got okay handles, you could turn him into a point guard. He keeps his head down while he dribbles. He has no idea where he is on the floor. He has no idea. The only time he will ever lift his head is to throw a head fake. For that reason, the guy can't play as a point guard. Imagine having a point guard doing this for your whole game. Imagine just having someone like that, just dribbling non-stop. Any competent defender is going to be able to stand in front of him. We haven't ever seen him make a pass, but due to just looking so incredibly uncomfortable with the basics of basketball, such as taking layups and some type of off-footed shots, I highly, highly doubt that he'll be able to pass the ball. So honestly, could he play as a two guard? Does not shoot well enough. Could he play as a defender? Could he play any level of basketball as an on-ball defender? No, he's one of the worst defenders I've ever seen. And could he play even as a point guard and use his one strength in 5v5 basketball? Hell no. He really couldn't. The handle is his one strength, but honestly, even he can't go by people one-on-one. So with a help defender, he's doing nothing. As of right now, the 14th of April 2022, I can confidently say that there is no level of basketball, whether it be the one-on-one YouTube or 5v5 that GOY is going to thrive in. I can honestly say there's not. But on the positive side, he is getting in touch with he is going out with trainers. He's working on some other things. However, I don't know. His attitude and just mentality towards game basketball, even working with his trainers, he's still dribble spamming. He's focusing on things that he doesn't really need to focus on. And he needs to go to a trainer and just learn the basics if he wants to get better. But you can see from this clip right here, there might be something in it. There might be something in him. Like, if he didn't shoot this one leg floater and was able to pull back into a jump shot there, you can see he burned by Cash. Cash isn't slow. Cash is no slouch. And he was able to pull back, stop on a dime. So the guy has some sort of coordination. He has some natural athleticism. He has some natural talent. He just doesn't know how to play the game of basketball. I'm being completely honest. He has a little bit of talent. He just doesn't know how to play. The problem is that he's kind of at the age where, in terms of making it in a 5v5 setting, any sort of okay setting like that, it's just too late for him. It honestly is. Some people say never give up on your dreams, but as someone who's coached players of all levels, there is a time where you're like, look, especially when it comes to just being able to comprehend the sport of basketball, if you're the age he is and you have that much of a warped vision of the sport, it's too late. However, he does have some redeeming qualities for the 1v1 basketball. He has the potential to be a lot better than like a Flight, guys like that. Sure, he's weak, and because of his footwork. He doesn't really use, even if he got strong, he wouldn't really use much of it. The big thing, if he improved on his defense, if he stayed on his toes, if he just learned the basics of the sport and was able to see when he goes by somebody, to learn when to kind of cut people off, learn when to go to the basket, learn when to pull back into his jump shot. And honestly, he just needs to take a couple of steps back. I've watched all of his workout videos and I actually don't think they're doing him any good. I don't think the actual sessions he's doing are bad, but they're bad specifically for him because they're not working on what he needs to work on. What I would do if I was coaching him in a one-on-one, I would spend an hour literally giving the ball to him, closing out in different ways and forcing him to make reads. I would be playing him in different ways, forcing him into different looks, giving him the right-hand side, playing a little bit weak defense, letting him go by me and seeing how he reacts to throwing different things at him. That's what he needs to learn. He has no idea how to read a defender. If he could actually do that in terms of just a 1v1 setting, he might be okay because his hands are quick. However, he's currently focusing on doing these generic workouts with trainers who you can tell aren't bad trainers. They're just not specified for him. If he had a couple of workouts where he came up against somebody literally just showing him different looks, showing him a bunch of different looks and trying to work on the mental aspect of getting by somebody, how to read a defender, he'd be a lot better. However, from looking at his 20 days of working out, nothing's going to help. Nothing he's doing right now is going to help him playing basketball, which is unfortunate because regardless of how many skills he picks up, he's not very good at the sport. He could improve his jump shooting percentage by 10%. He could get faster handles. He could improve his footwork. He could get quicker. He could go to the gym. None of that matters until he learns how to play basketball. So anyway, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.